Hi there, welcome back to our summit. So we've got our next speaker on, who is Nikki Love, who is actually a good friend of mine from a few years back. We've not spoken for a bit. She is a bit of an all-round endurance athlete, an adventure woman, a mum, business lady as well. And I'm really keen to hear about her story, what's brought her here, and so we'll dive into that. So Nikki, I'm really keen to hear about your story and for everyone to hear about this. Where are you at the moment with your running? What are your challenges? What are you facing in that landscape of life and menopause and your ambitions around running?
Right. Hi, Angie. Lovely to see you again. When we first met, I was perimenopausal. I just didn't quite know it.
Yeah.
A bit of time to kind of work that out. But yeah, in terms of my running, I'm in the process of training for my next big adventure. But I've had quite a lot of setbacks in recent years, things that I didn't quite understand until I kind of put the perimenopause and the extreme running together, or took the extreme running out of it and just looked at what's going on with me, my age, and this process, perimenopause, and sort of realized that actually I needed to take a little bit of time to work out what was going to be working for me, my body, to be able to do the things that I still want to do, and not put them on the shelf, which is one of the recommended suggestions from the medical profession, that perhaps I shouldn't be doing this. And that wasn't the answer that I wanted. And I don't think it's necessarily the answer that you need. You need to understand more about your body and what's going on during perimenopause. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm in the process of training for my next big adventure, and it's probably, well, no, it's not probably, it is. It's bigger than I've ever done before. And it's taking a bit of adjustment, but I'm putting in the work.
Cool. Yeah. So let's just clarify what this big adventure is, because it's bigger than most, isn't it? It's not as big adventure as I would term like a day out in the hills or a 10K or something. Your big adventure is on a grand scale, right?
It is. This is something that I've had in my head for an extremely long time. I've wanted to run across Australia since 2013, when the seed was planted at that point, which is 10 years now in the making, and 10 years in the making has involved a lot of lead-up adventures, training runs, I like to call them. And yeah, running across Australia is from Perth to Sydney. It's 2,450 miles, and my goal is to try and do it in 63 days, which if you do a quick calculation, it means it's running a marathon and a half a day for 63 days. That's it.
Wow. Okay. So that's a big ask on anybody's body and mind. So as a woman in perimenopause or menopause, I'm not sure which bit you're currently in, but how is your body sitting with that? What are you doing to be able to cope?
Right. So I am still in the technical perimenopause phase. I think it's been about, I have recorded it, and I do have that brain fog going on. So I can't quite recall exactly how long it's been, but I think it's been at least 6 months since my last period, because I do track it. That was a really important learning curve, was to track everything so that I was able to go back and recall what's going on. But yeah, 6 months since my last period, so I'm in the hope that at age 56, or I'm about to turn 56, that I might be sort of heading into the menopause phase. But yeah, it's taken a lot of understanding that, because I said I had quite a few injuries in the last few years, in particular, that sort of triggered or highlighted that there were changes going on in my body. I understood, obviously, that perimenopause is a change phase, but I didn't quite understand what was going on in things that you couldn't see, so internally. The biggest issue I had was I ended up having a stress fracture in my pelvis, which ended up, it can be, I mean, a stress fracture or a fracture anywhere is relatively serious, but in the pelvis area, it was a big concern that was I going, am I have I got osteoporosis, or am I leading to that? What condition are my bones? Why did it get to that point? And we started looking at all the other issues that go on. So my gut absorption issues that I put down to extreme running, and actually there was this link that as my estrogen levels were diminishing, and body was in this state of flux, that actually that was the things that were causing the bigger problem. So having absorption issues, which led to my blood markers dropping, in particular, all the ones that, I mean, they're all very important, but the notable ones, iron deficiencies, and that led to this breakdown that I couldn't see until it happened. So I was able to see or know the brain fog that was going on. I was able to see my night sweats. These were all things that, are visible. But what I couldn't see was the adaptations that were going on inside my body. And so it was a big learning curve, and I'm glad that I've gone through it, because I had to take time to understand what I could do better if I wanted to keep running. So it was looking at how to improve my diet, even though my diet was pretty good. There were changes that I could make, supplements that I could take, and of course the ultimate changer was taking HRT, but taking HRT in a way that I was taking it at the time, but because of gut absorption issues, body wasn't absorbing it. So these are all learning curves that hopefully I've taken the lesson on board, and my body seems to be responding in a positive way.
Oh, that's good news. That's brilliant. Yeah. Good. So what has helped you to keep that self-belief that things are going to get better? Because that's a lot for anyone to cope with. All of what you described, that's a lot.
It is. Mindset has always been one of my strengths. I think this is sort of a learned thing from very early experiences of having obstacles, having issues come up, and how you deal with them. And if you've got something in your head that you want to achieve, then there are going to be diversions, obstacles, roadblocks along the way. How much do you want it, and how much are you willing to get back up again when you fall down? And this has been probably one of my strengths. I'm not a particularly good runner, but I have the mindset stuff, and being able to keep that focus of what it is that I'm trying to do, also keep the focus of what I enjoy. And I actually do enjoy the whole going out on an adventure to see what I'm capable of doing, see where I am, and see who comes along for the ride or who I meet along the way. These are all the higher priorities, and they actually sort of keep me going when things get tough. So yeah, it's a long-term practice, and I'm talking, 40-50 years probably of having learned these lessons of mindset. I probably don't realize it at age 5, but you do learn these lessons, and it's how you respond to little knockbacks.
Can I excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold and I'm coughing away here, but can I just kind of chip in and just, so can you give us a bit of a little bit background to how you've got to doing this, the big super duper running across Australia, you mental list, how you've got to that, sort of what you've done in the past, kind of how you've built up to where you've got to?
Yeah, sure. It has been a stepping stone process. So like everybody, you have to start somewhere. And my running started at high school with cross country. So the cross country distance, I think, was 3 kilometers. And yeah, that was tough. 3 kilometers in one in one hit was a tough thing to do when you were a young teenager or a prepubescent. But I loved it. And it sort of grew from there. So my 3K became a 5K, and but I did stick around in the 5K, 10K area for a very long time, and I probably didn't push beyond 10K until in my 20s. And then I gave a half marathon a go in my 20s, and I thought it was fantastic, that what a distance. And then I watched as people ran past me and continued on to do a full marathon. I was just like, how could you do that? Honestly, no idea. But it planted a seed. And again, I think I have a good mindset in that when I watch other people do something, I am in awe, but I'm also inspired, or I'm motivated. It's just like, oh, if they can do something like that, then maybe I'm capable of doing something as well. At some point, I'm going to find that out. It took me until 34, I think I was, when I attempted my first marathon. So again, I hung out in the half marathon distance for a very long time. And yeah, doing my first attempt at a marathon at age 34, I failed. Didn't finish the marathon. I was just like, oh, okay, well, I thought I could, but obviously I couldn't. But that's not how I want that story to finish. So I really wanted to do a marathon. I had to reassess everything. Did I put in the training? No, I didn't put in the training at all. So it was just like, oh, well, that kind of explains it. What can I do to try and get this distance? So I changed, put in the training, and the second attempt, I actually completed my marathon. And that was a good lesson, that you get what you put in, but you also can change if you want it. You can change the story ending, or the story ending is not there until the very end. So you've got this option to give it a go. I did a few marathons from that point on, and I'm talking only a couple. Actually, I only did another marathon after that, and then decided that I wanted to see how far I could go in terms of how many marathons I could do. So I ended up doing 7 marathons in 7 days. And it near broke me. And it took me months and months to recover. I don't think I've ever felt as much pain in those 7 days as I have, well, probably until recently. But it was, again, another there was 2 lessons to learn. I set myself to do 7 marathons in 7 days. I wanted to do more. The people I had around me, my friendship, my circle, said, no, you can't do that many, because I originally said that I wanted to do about 30, and I didn't have the right setup, the right support system. And I'd say the right, I had a support system, but the support system said, let's bring it down a little bit, you know, try 7. 7's good. Okay, yeah, I can do 7. I'll try for 7. I lowered my my personal goals to meet other people's expectations, and it really was hard. And I'm glad that I did only 7. But there was, like I said, there's 2 lessons that I will do. If I want to do something, I will put in the work. It is hard, but don't let other people's expectations lower your ambitions. It took me a long time after that to sort of get the confidence back to go, okay, let's try this again. I want to do more. Am I capable of doing more? I'll only find out if I take all the lessons that I learned from that 7 and implement it into another challenge. I then set about running or setting my goal for 63 marathons in 63 days, which is kind of a bit of a hike. But it was, there was a reason behind it. I'd done a little bit of research. The Guinness World Record at the time for most consecutive marathon distances by a woman was 60. And I thought, well, you know, if I'm going to give this a go, then I may as well give it a go properly. And so I set the target of 63 marathons in 63 days. And I had changed the people around me. I turned up my own mindset. I worked a lot on that, is that I had to visualize, I had to set everything up for that success. I had to describe what success was to me. I did all of that mindset stuff as well as the training. And yeah, I was able to complete it. And again, lessons learned, that I can do what I put my mind to. I was actually perimenopausal, didn't quite realize it, and sort of put all the experience that I had down to this extreme running. But I was able to do it and thought, okay, well, I can perhaps now do something more. What else is there available? What can I achieve? And sort of saw it as a stepping stone, and it really has been a stepping stone. I've gone on to do some other crazy stuff, and this next stepping stone, although it sounds crazy, I understand that, mentalist, it seems the most natural stepping stone for me, because it is pushing me just that little bit further. I'm going to see whether I'm capable of doing it. And yeah, so it's been a natural progression in my head.
So where does that mental resilience kind of come from? Do you know? Has it been just over the years built up, or, well, I'll let you.
I think
where does it come from? Just
I think it I'm not sure the absolute trigger. It probably needs a lot of therapy for that. Maybe being told that I can't do these things is I know it is a trigger. It is a driver, but also this thought, just this, it has been a thought process or a learning process, and I'm not sure exactly where it came from, but it is just this desire to want to give it a go and see what I can do. And yeah, that overrides a fear of what if I fail, because I have failed at things that I've tried, but it hasn't stopped me from going, okay, what did I learn? Okay, how do I implement those learnings and make changes and go again to see if I can give it a go.
I just kind of wanted to pluck out because you kind of just in a great way kind of talked, just you said this one thing and then we kind of just moved on, and I thought it was really important to kind of pluck it out as one thing, just for listeners and for me in general. It's something I've always done, but not all the way, or not always, because we don't always do what we say we're doing, but that whole idea of watching somebody else achieve something, and thinking, well, you know, the thought process, either one of, and this is kind of some of the people that I meet, it's very much a case of, oh, I'll never do that. How has she done that? I can't possibly do that. That will never be me. And, you know, the other side of that, or the flip side of that coin, is the thing that you said. You watch somebody do something and think, bloody hell, that's impressive. And you can walk away going, I'm inspired. I might never get to that, but what about this and this next level and the stepping stones between to get roughly where you want to be? And it is that difference in mindset, isn't it? And I suppose where I'm kind of going with this whole waffle is, you know, what do you have any kind of input on what makes the difference between that person who looks and goes, that will never be me, and that person who looks and goes, shit, I'd like to do that, and if she could do it, why can't I?
I don't know, but what I do know is that
Me neither.
I try and share that because in the storytelling. I go to primary schools a lot, and maybe it was something that I learned at primary school. I'm not sure. I know that I had a couple of people who I looked up to, and I saw them doing things regardless of what people thought, and just giving things a go. And maybe that has been the seed that was planted. But that's why I go into primary schools, and I talk about how it is good to have this dream or this ambition. And I got told I was a dreamer all the time, but I actually take action, and you know, I might dream up here and I might action and only hit here, but I'm taking it. I'm not staying down here going, oh well, maybe one day, or you know, or gosh, that's a bit scary. I'm actually taking the steps, and that is what I want to try and pass on to people: is give it a go. You know, what's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is that you fail, and if you fail, do you self implode? No, you don't. You just kind of, it hurts for a little bit, either mentally or potentially physically as well. Can you get over that, and can that make you a stronger person? Yes, it can, if you give that space to allow it to be a lesson learned rather than a dead end of like, well, you know, that was the worst thing that's ever happened. I can't get anything out of this. So it's being able to flip that, and I'm really not sure where I learned it other than sort of watching people, I think. And so that's into, I don't understand it, but I want to share it. So I go in and try and encourage and tell little stories to children, that perhaps when they grow up, that there's this potential that they can do their own thing. It doesn't have to be what I'm doing, but if they use that same principle, I wonder if I can.
Yeah, definitely. So this is more of a personal question. I don't kind of want to delve into your personal life too much, but a lot of people, you know, the amount of training that goes into sort of some of these endurance events is, you know, there's a lot involved. Everything's got to be on point, like you say, your support system, support network, your nutrition, the training itself, the preparation, just the getting in the right headspace is massive. You know, a lot of I'm going to call it an excuse because it sounds horrendous. This is Sparrow, by the way. Hi, Sparrow. It sounds like I'm being negative or judgmental, and I'm not. But that excuse of I don't have enough time, you know, sort of how do you find the time? What is the sacrifice involved? I'm sure there is. It's a bloody stupid question, really. But you know, how have you managed that essentially?
So that is really important, because there, if you look at the bigger picture, what you see is that I go out running and training every day. What have I had to do to put that ability in place? I had a business. I sold my business. I have invested everything I have into this process, and this process is, yes, I'm going off to run across Australia, but what I am the sort of the business end behind it is that I want to be a renowned adventurer, a professional renowned adventurer. So actually, you know, I earn my living from doing these things that I do. And what does that involve? I've been writing books. I speak. I've had to find a different avenue or ability or way of earning an income from what I'm doing. So yes, I have changed direction in terms of so prior to running the 63 marathons, I was a coach, a sports massage therapist. I was in the fitness industry, and when I decided that I wanted to do this full time, I had to make the space and I had to put in the processes. And, you know, it is scary, and there's every chance that this might fail because I don't make a lot of money. I'm still in the learning process of trying to make this financially viable. And that's the risk. But I'm willing to take that risk and back myself. And if it doesn't work, then I don't know, I'll work out what else to do from that point on. But my gosh, it's an interesting story and a pretty wild story. And my ability then to make that into something is it's backing myself. So yes, it looks and many people would look at it and go, well, I could run that. I could. But you have to make the time and space available. And then the excuses of, well, how do I do that with a full-time job? How do I do that with family? And you have to work out how you're going to do it. And that this is what I've done. I'll let you know how successful it is. Maybe
I'm inspired. I know that much.
Yeah. Could I ask a question? So the going for the when you said about the stress fracture within the pelvis, what was that due to osteopenia or osteoporosis, or did they put it down to chronic overtraining, or?
So it was a bone degeneration is right, but it wasn't gone. I hadn't gone into osteoporosis. Yeah. So with a change in diet and improving my gut absorption issues, that and also so there was several things. So there was the bone issue, which we were able to deal with getting my blood markers increased and working on strength work. So I hadn't tipped over. So my bones are in good condition. My tendons and ligaments, they are tighter than what they used to be, and I have to work on that more on a daily basis. So there's this point of it wasn't overtraining, but it was more dietary, more all systems combined. So looking at the muscles and how they are muscles, ligaments and tendons, and the condition of those, and can they be more flexible? Are they could they be stronger? Were they too strong? And there was pulling, and I'd also torn tendons in my toe, which impacted my running gait, which then impacted. So there was sort of a stacking issues, and thankfully, I'm hoping that we've sorted them all out.
And I think as well, what people don't realise, isn't it? Everything starts from the ground up. If the toes aren't moving well, then it has an impact. I think I'm going to put lights on in a moment. It's suddenly gone very dark. Yeah, with how easy was it to access the right advice and the help that you needed within sort of like the HRT and all the issues that you've done? I am listening. I'm just going to put my lights on. I do apologize, but I am listening.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Actually, I don't want to sort of badmouth the NHS, but they weren't particularly good with me. I had to do a lot of this privately. Yeah, I was lucky in some aspects that I had was able to get advice and speak to professionals that that not everybody gets to speak to, purely because of the things that I've done, and the circle that I had of friends and advisors. So when I went to the GP, I was told to just stop this thing that I was doing because I wasn't a professional athlete, and so therefore I shouldn't be doing this stuff. They also didn't listen to when I was describing my symptoms, and I had learned to make sure that I wrote all my symptoms down, and it was just put aside as well. You just haven't got used to the HRT yet. No, so I wasn't giving great advice. So then I was actually able to speak to women's health experts, menopause GPs. That I had to pay for that. I had to get MRI scans. I had to get bone density scans, not via the NHS, because the doctor wasn't going to refer me to anything. It was just, you've done something stupid, stop running. This is not good for your body. And that wasn't productive or helpful, and very frustrating. So yeah, I had to do a lot of research through the avenues that I had available to me, and that cost money. And I understand that you get what you pay for, but yeah, a little bit frustrating that I know that the services were available. My doctor refused to pass me on to the menopause clinic that is available via NHS.
It is. I think it is very frustrating. I'm perimenopausal myself, and it's very, very difficult to access their right help. And I'm absolutely sure there's some excellent GPs that are willing to listen. And I've been very lucky that I found a very good lady that's in a menopause clinic, and again accessing private stuff. But who did you have to go to a private nutritionist to advise you on all the supplementation and stuff as well?
Yep. Yep, had to do that, and I've had to get my own blood tests taken, and then work out what needed to be increased. Very I mean, if there's little bits of advice that I would give is that if you can ask for your bloods to be taken, then get them taken, then go somewhere with those bloods and get them assessed rather than from the GP, because the GP will say if they are borderline at the low end, if they're still in the range, then you're fine. There's nothing wrong with you. It's regardless of what you do for a living, as in
Yeah.
I'm athlete. And a couple of my blood markers were actually below the range, and it didn't get picked up. So that there's mistakes and oversights, but you have the ability to look after yourself and understand yourself. And again, a piece of advice that I wish I'd known, I'm tracking it now, is to track. And having your bloods taken, or your blood markers taken, probably in your 30s and your 40s, and on a regular basis, so that as you age, they are going to change. But if there is significant changes that is going to impact you, then you can do something about it. You can supplement, you can change your dietary requirements, and you have that ability if you keep track of everything. It's a past tense thing now, that I wish I had done that earlier, but I am doing it now, and I will continue doing that as I age, because I think I have a better understanding and control of what's going on inside of me.
How much did your diet have to change, or did you adjust your diet? Did you have to heal the gut first before you?
It was more a healing of the gut, and making sure that so I had very bad diarrhea, and I'd also been bleeding heavily, and the HRT that I'd originally taken were both estrogen and progesterone tablets, and it didn't make any difference to my bleeding, and that didn't change until after getting a Mirena coil fitted. And I was told, well, that's just a symptom of being perimenopausal, that your menstrual cycle can, go haywire, and your bleeding can be longer, thicker, heavier, and it was depleting me, and I was still trying to run, and it wasn't suggested until, actually it was the GP didn't suggest the Mirena coil as a option. It was a friend GP, menopausal specialist, who said, go and do this, at least get that under control. So yes, I've had to tap into people that I know who are experts in their area, and that also includes the physical side of it as well. So the physiotherapy side,
And a lot of, have you put a lot more strength training in as well? So I think my diet did change initially. It's become a little bit more laxical. Not laxical, that's not the right word, but anyway, it's not as strict as it was before, but I know that I have basic needs, and I make sure that those basic needs are met. So it wasn't a massive change. It was just trying to deal with the major issues, which was the low iron, low vitamin C, low calcium, low vitamin K, I think it was, and the excessive diarrhea. And once we sort of sorted that out, and there was a bit more stability in my gut, then everything else was able to sort of build from there. Nice.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I was thinking.
I could carry on with the whole list.
I know. I know. There's so much we could talk about here.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, we've talked a lot about the issues that you've gone through and had to face and had to really advocate for yourself. And I'm wondering, was there a moment, and you might not remember, I'm not sure, see what comes to mind. Was there a moment or a day or a particular thing that happened when you thought, okay, I can't deal with this on my own, I need some extra help? I've realized it's not just running. I now realize that it is to do with menopause and perimenopause. I'm there. And then thinking, oh crap, I need some help with this. Things are going wrong. And it's not as simple as I hoped it would be. Did that conversation, was that a thing in your mind in any way, or was it something else? Am I totally off track there? How did that go?
It really was, because up to that point, I will say that when I realized that I was perimenopausal, and I was being very stubborn and saying, I'm going to keep doing this, I'm going to keep being my runner, I am an athlete, my body will adapt, because that's what you do when you're an athlete. You train, your body adapts. It's going to adapt, it's going to work itself out. I just have to keep being here every day, and it's going to sort itself out. And it was probably the day that the stress fracture sort of blew up, which was I was attempting to run 100 marathons in 100 days, and on marathon 13 this pain started. It grew and grew. The day got longer and longer. It took me 9 hours to complete that marathon, which is a ridiculous amount of time. But the pain was so bad that I kept going and finished it. And the next, I went to bed and thought, okay, I can wake up the next morning. I'll be all right. Something's trapped. It's okay. Woke up the next morning, went to my chiropractor and crawled into his office, and and he took one look and he went, no, go back to the hospital, I'm not dealing with you. and gave sort of the description of what was going on pain wise. I couldn't walk, and realizing that this whole thing of let my body do its natural thing, and that was sitting in the hospital getting scans, going home and going, okay, well, this is the end of this adventure. I'm not going to be able to run 100 marathons in 100 days. What went wrong? And this was all within this 24 hours of day 14, that I realized that actually ignoring it, not so much ignoring it, because I wasn't ignoring it. I was very aware of all the stuff that was going on, all the changes that were happening, but not getting expert advice to deal with all the issues, and just going, okay, my body's going to adapt, and having that mindset and the blinkers and everything like that. So, they're good in one sense, but not good in the other sense, in that it didn't work. And I had to look at something different. I had to say, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. And I had phone calls from a few of my friends, and some experts, and they said, okay, just obviously take some time here, but now let's look at how we can look at your body and make you stronger and deal with the issues that you've got without the whole process, or just the blinkered opinion. And that's when it changed for me, is okay, I need to look at this differently. And it wasn't, that didn't happen until I broke. So lesson learned. There's always silver linings. There is always silver linings if you look at them.
That's a good approach, and I think it's the case for a lot of people, isn't it? We don't make any changes until something goes horrendously wrong, and then we go, oops. So just I suspect Claire's probably interested in this as well. You know, both Claire and I come at stuff from a sort of strength and mobility perspective. I'm really interested in just, you know, what your sort of the more, so we talked about the nutrition side of things from a movement perspective. You know your either strength, mobility, flexibility, however you want to describe it really. What do you do on top of your running? Because I spend a lot of time trying to persuade runners that it's not just enough to run. We all love to run, yeah, that's what we do. And then you get to a point where you go, gonna need to do some extra stuff here. So what do you do to support your running that's not running, essentially?
Right. Perhaps if I sort of talk about the rehab from that pelvis break, because I do lots of things, and I've tried to throw everything in here, and it started with what was I able to do once things started healing, and because although walking is a you know, the thing that you need to do, even walking was hard for me, so I got in the water. So it was walking in the water, so having that little bit of support, then swimming, then the walking was started coming into it, and dealing with all the issues. So from the feet, so there was a lot of walking with bare feet to strengthen everything and reconnect with everything in the foot again. So barefoot walking, balance exercises, they were the simple things to start implementing. Then went to the gym and strength work, with weights, doing squats, doing deadlifts, a lot of upper body stuff, full range movement exercises. So when you run, you stay in a very almost a static position for an extra, and if it's long distance running, for a very long time. So doing exercises that have full range of movement in all the joints, that's again another good thing for the body to take movement outside of just the position of your running. And then on the bike, cycling, and I did all of that and then had a lot of fun as well. So had a stand-up paddleboard, so getting on that. You know, it's the adventurous side of things, but also working your core, looking for things outside of running. And then once running started coming back into play, it was the variation of speed and distances that are now part of my training. I do hot yoga for the mobility, flexibility, and calming of the brain. I have body weight work and weight work that I do throughout the week, and again the play side of things. So one of the things I did as a kid was roller skating. So it's trying to find things that is fun for you to do, puts time on your feet, strengthens the body in ways that are beyond just that process of running, and yeah, everything I could possibly do, I'm throwing in there.
I hope you don't mind me asking this, but as it's ladies, it's for menopause and stuff. Did the volume of running, has it created any issues with pelvic floor strength? Is it something that you've had to address, sort of like with the breathing, pelvic floor and things like that? Is that something you've specifically had somebody help you with, or is it something that you've never actually had to adjust?
I have had to adjust, and it has come from catching a cold that coldy, fluey thing, that chesty thing that has just gone around to everybody over Christmas. I could just sit here and cough and wee myself. So I've been out running, and at the height of the coughing, my ability to hold any kind of liquid inside me was really low. So yes, it is on my list of specific time. I know you could do it any time of the day, and but when I'm, as part of my training, I do a little session on pelvic floor exercises. It's all adding to the whole thing of, right, well, I want this body to be as strong as possible. Now, I don't know if anybody else experiences this, but in my cycle, and it's a bit hard to tell now because I'm not bleeding, so I'm always not 100% certain of where my cycle is, but just before at ovulation stage, I would oh no, not at ovulation stage, just before my period was due, I would, if I ran, I would leak, and that would be both having not being able to, being incontinent, weeing a lot, and you know, coming home and going, oh, my shorts are soaking, and so I'm still noticing that now. So I think that there is a weakness there, and it is hormonal driven, but it's just one of those things that, yes, I am working on it.
And do you find, sorry to interrupt, but do you find sort of like I have similar, I've got no sort of bladder incontinence, but I'm a weightlifter. That's my main thing. So pelvic floor is something I've never experienced an issue with. However, sort of that coming up to probably sort of day 21-ish, get that urgency that I need to go to the bathroom, and it's not a problem. But I'm like, oh, I really need to go, and I obviously it's probably hormonal, and plus the pressure of pressing down onto the bladder, and it is, and I suppose as well if you're running.
Yeah.
I can run. I do run. just to put my hands on. I do occasionally run as well, but yeah, it's so, and I think it's like at least you're informed enough that you know that it needs addressing, and understand that it's a muscle like any other muscle, and that it also needs to be trained alongside the diaphragm, and that I think, God bless Tenor Lady, but they've normalized, oh God, you might have to cut that bit out, but they've normalized that it's
No, it's true.
normal, and that we need to actually address it as it's a muscle, and it's very difficult to actually get good female physiotherapists or access them and know these sort of people as well, isn't it?
Yeah, women's health physiotherapy is kind of lacking a little bit in the UK. You know, it's bigger in other countries. Can I ask you both then, is that that urinary urgency or urinary incontinence, have both those come about as your hormonal, in that hormonal shift in the perimenopause, that it's come about then? There was no issue before, just out of interest?
I've always had that coming up to my period from a very young age. It's only that time, and it's like, oh, I need to go. And how, yeah, albeit I can control it, I wouldn't want to be waiting as long as what I could normally wait.
Yeah, I get that. Nikki, you?
Yeah, this is a well, it's a perimenopausal symptom. I didn't have any issues. I didn't notice any issues beforehand.
Right.
This was sort of brought on in this phase of life.
Yeah, it kind of just makes me wonder then, you know, because the sort of usual pelvic floor approach, if it is just muscular, like Claire's talking about, which for many people it is, and obviously it plays a part, not, you know, tissues change during menopause and get all of that. But the approach then to kind of, I'm going to use the word fixing. I hate the word fixing, but you get the idea. The approach to fixing it then probably is maybe slightly different, or do you mind me asking sort of what your approach is? I kind of got the impression for what you said before that you were doing sort of pelvic floor exercises, which to me kind of you lift and pull up and, you know, let go and all the rest of it. Have you had any kind of input from anybody around that as a way of kind of addressing it beyond just pelvic floor exercises? And that's not me dissing pelvic floor exercises. I just wondered.
No, that I mean, I haven't, but I have read a fair bit about it, and my thought process is that I could probably be looking at vaginal estrogen, and
Right.
that potentially improve things, especially at that time, because it is bad in that sort of just before you bleed week.
Yeah.
But I haven't actually done anything about it. So yeah, it's on a list of things to do.
It was just out of interest to see if you had, you know, other thoughts around that, rather than just, like I say, I'm not dissing pelvic floor exercises, but it just occurred to me that there might be more to it that you might have come across. But that's cool. Thank you. I'm conscious of the fact that we've taken up an hour of your time. I don't know where the hour's gone. Do you know what, Nikki? I didn't know what to expect from these interviews. I really didn't. And this is our first one. And I tell you what, I've come away from this more inspired than I've ever been. It's just absolutely blown my mind how good this has been. You're just a delight to speak to. It was just fantastic. I don't know, are the other two nodding? Yeah.
Absolutely. It's really nice to talk to somebody that actually makes me want to go for a run. Anything more than 5 repetitions is cardio. But I'm glad actually you've actually highlighted the importance of resistance training as well.
Nikki, do you want to finish off? I'm conscious of the fact that this is your business now. Do you want to well, I want to invite you to tell us where to find you. You know, like, people are going to be listening to this. If they're as inspired as I am, we are. I don't know, socials, Instagram, Facebook, email, how would you like people to contact you if they've got questions, or they just want to, you know, express some gratitude like I'm doing?
Yeah, social is always great. Having followers and numbers, because that's what it comes down to, is a numbers game. When I'm trying to do this sort of stuff. So my social media is Nikki Love Runs. It's NIKKI Love Runs, and my website, with my email address, is nikkilove.co.uk. This adventure, the run across Australia, all the details are on my website, and we have a community program, so people who want to not run the entire 2,450 miles, but be involved in any format, and running their distances, or cycling, or swimming. We've got a community program, and we are hoping people will want to get involved with that, because the more I see people out doing things and saying, yeah, we're behind you, Nikki, then that helps me, especially on times and days when it gets really rough and tough, and there's going to be plenty of rough and tough days out there, as well as some beautiful days. So yeah, that's how you can get involved and help me, really, is following and supporting and messages, cheering, because yeah, I'd said to Angie earlier that women are great at supporting women, and they really are, but we also get to a sort of a level where it seems a little bit embarrassing to yell and cheer and be vocal on social media. I know a lot of my friends just don't go on it because they're like, oh, I don't do that, it's not for me. And actually, what I'm hoping is that you actually do go, come on, and cheer and yeah, it's a cheerlead me.
Definitely. Well, I think, I don't know about I think part of what we were setting this this summit up for really is I think the main word that we came away with was like empowering. You know, we wanted to empower women that are at this stage of their life to not think that life's over. You know, that this next phase is actually a phase where you can step outside your comfort zone, do things that you never thought you would be able to, and you're sort of living and breathing that. And yeah, it's great. And have we got anything else? I've got a list. I could talk forever.
I could do. We probably would need to do a follow-up. We could do
at some point we'll do a part
part two,
two.
potentially part three.
Well, actually,
There's a lot
Nikki,
to talk about.
that's a good point. When are you planning to do this biggie across Australia?
All right, so my start date is the 1st of May. My run to Sydney has an aimed for end date, which is the 2nd of July. That's 60 days. But we're having a little bit of a fun run added to it because my mum and dad live in Australia. Yeah, a little fun run.
Why not? Yeah. Whilst you're there.
So my mum and dad live in Victoria in a place called Geelong, which is 1,000 kilometres away from Sydney. Yeah, I'll be running to their home just to finish.
A little stroll.
Just an extra 1,000 kilometres. That's just brilliant. So 1st of May, that's not that far off, is it?
No, it's not. I'm very excited, very nervous, channeling that nerves into energy for action. And yeah, there's a lot to do and a lot to train, and a lot of focus. but I'm very much looking forward to it because it is 10 years in the making, and I want to be the person who says, look at what I've done, and rather than, oh, I wish I'd done it, because that, yeah, it could sit there forever.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect end to the interview, unless anybody has anything else. Like I say, I think we would definitely do a follow-up when you come back. Definitely. Once you've done it, or once you're there, we'll get you on a call while you're there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great place to end. You want to be the one that's done it, not the one that said they were going to do it. Yeah, absolutely. Are we happy? Are we done? Shall we call it a draw there?
Yeah.
So I will obviously edit that part so we can say the recording's kind of finished. I'm going to let it run just in case anything kind of exciting pops up. But other than that, I can't thank you enough. I thought that was bloody brilliant, quite honestly.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. It was really, and I like how we just flowed.
Yeah,
there was no, you know, it was like, oh, that's interesting, and carry on from it.
Yeah, well, Nikki's got such a great story, haven't you? So it's easy to pick out the threads of as we go along through that. And yeah, we could spend all day talking to you.
Nikki, was there anything that we didn't pick out that you would have liked to have talked about, or you would have liked to have said to people that are listening?
Good point.
I'm going to find you on social media now.
Actually, what we didn't talk about is my partner Sharif has had to learn a lot about perimenopause.
I'm glad we kept this going. Yep.
So yes, it impacted me personally, but it impacted my life. And Sharif, my son lives away from home, so he's an adult now, grown man. But my partner Sharif had to learn a lot, understand what was going on when I couldn't verbalize it. I've gone through that whole process of crying for no reason, of being hysterical really at some points, and his understanding and kindness and wanting to learn about it so that he could find out what he could do, because the last thing you want to do is be or what he felt was that if he couldn't fix it, and the only thing he could do was just be there and go, okay, I'm here, I'm not trying to fix it, I'm just here. And him understanding and wanting to learn has been a really crucial part of me being able to do what I do, and also discover how I can get adapt to the perimenopausal phase. It would have been very easy for him to go, well, this is all too much, because perhaps everybody will have their own experience, but yeah, it got quite heavy and emotional and hard, but he has stuck through. So men out there, please learn and understand, because it will impact you as well.
I think that's definitely something we could try and pick up on in a future interview, is just how you manage that with, because there's so many people that I speak to. In fact, I had a potential client on the phone today, and she just said her marriage is over, and it was entirely down to the menopause, and she's absolutely heartbroken. So clearly it was a very short call. It was just one of those initial consultations, but bless her, she's devastated, and it seems like if it isn't, she's 41 years into that marriage, and it's taken a nosedive. She's pretty sure it's over. So it's something that I think would be a good interview.
And I think the
option.
post that I put up a while ago when I was going through it, and I put the state of my face with all the rosacea and blah blah blah, and sort of like the constant crying, they're just not being able to function really, and you're actually thinking you're losing it, and going back to what you said, the NHS, we're going to put you on anti-anxiety medications. I'm like, I've never needed anti-anxiety medication, and it's like the ADHD thing. You haven't suddenly got ADHD at 50 years of age. Come on, let's be real. And the number of men that actually private messaged me and went, I am so glad you wrote that. And I think because of who I am and what I do with the strength training, a lot of guys follow me as well. And they just went, I didn't realize how bad it was. And went, guys, you get it as well. Whatever you think, you get a male menopause. But it's brutal, isn't it? And if your partner doesn't understand, it's probably why my marriage, but no, it wasn't. But yeah, but it doesn't help.
It's a very common topic that comes up with my clients, for sure. Yeah,
want to think about maybe we do another summit in male education around menopause.
It's been mentioned in the
Sounds silly, but
yeah.
God, can you imagine the Q&A?
my partner Sharif is a big advocate of it, and he has, because I'm older from his mates' wives, and he has spoken to all his mates saying, look, this is probably going to, at some point it's going to happen in your life. You've got to understand it. So he's a big advocate for it.
Yeah.
That's
why I said they should warn us at puberty. The next bit is even worse.
All joking apart, it probably should be included at
absolutely.
At
they're trying to change that. I don't know if they'll get enough information across. I don't think it'll be in enough depth to actually make a difference.
Well, I found you on social media.
Thank you.
I'll be doing that as soon as we get off this call. Right, anybody, anything else, or are we going to actually call it a draw there?
I think we'd better let Nikki go.
Anyway, thank you so much, Nikki. It's been an absolute pleasure meeting you virtually.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time and the time that you gave me, because I blabbed on.
That was perfect.
blabbed on in a good way. That doesn't matter.